My daughter shouted, "Apologize to my husband, or get out!" Words that tore my heart apart like a betrayal of blood. Everyone froze, waiting for my humiliation. I stood up and calmly walked over to him. He smiled, confident that the old man would beg, but I stared into his eyes and uttered one sentence. Silence fell like a verdict. In a matter of minutes, their perfect life fell apart, leaving only justice. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The smell of hickory smoke clung to my clothes as I pushed through the front door. 10 hours at the restaurant left my feet throbbing and my lower back tight as wire. I dropped my bag by the coat rack, noting the lights blazing in every room. Electric bill would be astronomical again, but that argument was tired, pointless. Something felt off. The house breathed wrong, too still despite the noise. I found the credit card statement on the kitchen counter, envelope torn open, papers spread like evidence someone wanted discovered. My name on the account, charges I didn't recognize marching down the page in neat columns. Gaming console, $899. Gaming accessories and controllers, $247. Premium ergonomic gaming chair, $654. Various online purchases, subscription services, $400. My hands shook slightly. $3,200, 1 month. This wasn't the first time Brandon had helped himself to my accounts, but the amount kept climbing. Last month, $600, month before, $400, now this. I walked toward the living room, statement clutched tight. The new television dominated the wall. Massive, expensive, unauthorized. Brandon sprawled in that ridiculous chair, fingers dancing across a controller, headset covering his ears. The screen flashed violent colors. Jennifer sat on the sofa nearby, phone glowing in her hands, thumbs scrolling endlessly. Neither looked up when I entered. "Brandon, we need to talk about this." I held up the statement. He didn't pause the game, didn't even glance over. Jennifer's head lifted. Her eyes found mine, already defensive, already preparing counter-arguments before I'd made accusations. "Dad, don't start. It's just money, just money. $3,000. Reduced to pocket change by her tone. Brandon finally paused, pulled one side of the headset back. That smirk I'd grown to recognize, half amusement, half contempt, spread across his face. "Relax, old man. You weren't using that card anyway." Old man. When had I become that to him? We'd never been close, but there'd been surface civility once, before the wedding, before he'd moved into my house with 2 suitcases and stayed 3 years. "This is $3,000, I said, keeping my voice level. "Without asking." Brandon shrugged, shoulders rolling with practiced nonchalance. "It's called borrowing. Family does that. Borrowing requires permission." Jennifer stood, positioning herself between us, physical barrier, chosen side visible in her stance. "Permission? He's my husband. We live here. What's yours is ours, right? That's how family works. What's yours is ours." The words hung there, sharp and claiming. "Brandon's part of this family now," she continued, voice rising to fill the space. "You don't do anything with your money anyway. You just work and sit in that office. At least Brandon knows how to enjoy life." I looked at my daughter, really looked, searching for the girl who used to wait up when I worked late shifts, who'd practiced her spelling words at the kitchen table while I prepped tomorrow's lunch. That person had disappeared somewhere between her mother's funeral and this moment. "Besides," Brandon added, leaning back in his expensive chair, "what else you gonna spend it on? Another lonely weekend?" The keys were still in my hand, metal edges cutting into my palm. My house. My name on the deed, the mortgage I'd paid for 23 years, the property I'd chosen with my late wife when Jennifer was still learning to walk, but the living room looked different now. Furniture rearranged without consultation. New pieces I hadn't approved scattered around. My favorite reading chair shoved into the corner, buried under Brandon's laundry, hoodies and jeans piled carelessly, claiming territory. On the mantel, one family photo remained from 3 years ago, before the wedding. Jennifer's smile was different then. Open, genuine. The woman in that picture wouldn't have said, "What's yours is ours," with such casual ownership. "You're overreacting," Jennifer said, softer now, trying a different approach. "It's not that serious," but it was. The calculation in her eyes told me so, the way she glanced at Brandon for approval before speaking, the dismissiveness that had crept into every interaction lately. So gradual I'd missed the pattern forming. When had I stopped being her father and become an obstacle? I turned without responding. "Dad, don't be like this. Jennifer's voice followed me down the hallway. "You're being so sensitive lately." Their conversation continued behind me, words muffled by distance but tone clear, discussing me, how difficult I'd become, how unreasonable. I reached my office, the only room still entirely mine, and stepped inside. The door closed with a solid click. My thumb found the lock, pressed it home. Darkness wrapped around me. I didn't reach for the light switch, just stood there, statement still clutched in my hand, pulse steady despite everything. Something inside me shifted, not rage, not hurt, something colder, sharper, more permanent. The old version of myself, the accommodating father, the guilty widower, desperate to keep family close, felt suddenly like a costume I'd been wearing too long. I set the statement on my desk and finally flipped the light switch. Yellow glow illuminated the space, my space. The one room they hadn't invaded, rearranged, claimed. Outside the door, their voices continued, casual and unconcerned. Inside, I began to see clearly for the first time in 3 years. Morning sunlight cut through the office window, harsh and revealing. I'd spent the night on the office couch, lumpy, too short for comfort, but better than sharing evening space with them. Sleep came in fragments between long stretches of reviewing documents. Bank statements covered my desk now, 6 months' worth, arranged chronologically, each one highlighted in yellow wherever Brandon's purchases appeared. The pattern emerged stark and undeniable. January, $847. February, $1,203. March, $1,206. April, $1,847. May, $1,297. June, $3,200. $18,247. 6 months. This wasn't impulse shopping. This was systematic draining. Each month testing boundaries, measuring my response. My coffee mug sat beside the calculator. Contents cold now. I'd made it in my office hours ago using the small pot I kept hidden in the cabinet. Couldn't face the kitchen yet. Couldn't stomach morning pleasantries with people treating my accounts like community property. I'd created a simple spreadsheet on notebook paper. Dates, amounts, items, totals, circled the final sum 3 times, documentation, evidence, the beginning of something I hadn't fully named yet. Footsteps moved through the house beyond my door. Jennifer's lighter tread, Brandon's heavier, careless steps. Their house, as they'd come to see it, their territory. Late morning finally pulled me from the chair. I gathered the statements, held them like ammunition. Jennifer was in the kitchen, coffee mug in hand, staring at her phone. Brandon's door remained closed. He rarely surfaced before noon. I'd timed this deliberately. Easier to reach her alone, without his interference coloring every word. I placed the statements on the kitchen table. The sound made her look up. "Jennifer, look at these. Really look." I slid the highlighted pages across the surface. $18,000. 6 months. She glanced down, then back at me. No surprise registered. She'd known. Of course she'd known. "Dad, we've been over this." Brandon's door opened. He appeared in the kitchen doorway, shirtless, hair pressed flat on one side. His eyes narrowed when he saw the papers spread between us. "You counting pennies now?" He moved to the counter, body language proprietary, leaned back like he owned the space. "That's sad, Robert. Really sad. Robert, not Dad, not even a pretense of respect anymore. This is a family house," he continued, reaching for the coffee pot. "Family shares. Maybe you forgot what family means. Living alone in that office." Jennifer's hand touched the statements, fingertips tracing the highlighted lines. "Dad, you gave me power of attorney 2 years ago. Remember, to simplify things after Mom." She trailed off, weaponizing grief, using my wife's death, her mother's death, as justification for theft. "POA for utilities," I said quietly. "Property taxes. Routine bills, not unrestricted spending." "Financial decisions," Jennifer countered. "That's what the document says. We were trying to help manage things." Brandon snorted. "Manage? Right, because you're doing such a great job alone." He sipped coffee, eyes meeting mine over the rim. "Face it, Robert, you're getting older. Making decisions gets harder. Numbers get confusing." "The numbers are clear," I said. 18,000 unauthorized dollars are very clear." "Unauthorized." Brandon set his mug down hard. "You keep using that word. This is a family house. Jennifer grew up here. She has rights. We have rights. My house. Family house," he corrected. "Maybe it's time to think about other arrangements. Somewhere you don't have to worry about bills and decisions. Assisted living facilities are nice now. Clean, safe. People your age. People who understand." Brandon, Jennifer started, but her tone wasn't objection, wasn't defense of me, just caution, timing concern. I'm serious, Brandon continued. There are places that handle everything. You could relax, not stress about every purchase, every dollar. Let the younger generation handle the complicated stuff. People your age, the condescension dripped from every syllable. Jennifer didn't defend me, didn't tell him he'd crossed a line. She looked away, studying the statements like they required intense focus. That's when I knew with absolute certainty they'd discussed this before. This wasn't spontaneous cruelty. They had a plan, had been building towards something. The spending, the boundary pushing, now the suggestion of assisted living, all pieces of a larger strategy. And I wasn't supposed to resist. 2 years ago, signing that POA, grief raw and exhausted, Jennifer's voice soft. Dad, let me help with the bills. You have enough to deal with. I'd signed limited authorization, utilities, property taxes, routine matters. Nothing about unrestricted access, nothing about ownership transfer. But somewhere between then and now, the interpretation had shifted, expanded. In their minds, my authority had been transferred, my capacity diminished, my house made communal. The victim I'd been, accommodating, guilty, desperate to keep family close, died in that moment. I felt him go, replaced by something colder, more dangerous, more focused. I turned without speaking. Dad, where are you going? We need to finish this conversation. Jennifer's voice followed me, but my legs were already moving. Down the hall, into the bedroom, straight to the closet. Behind the hanging clothes, hidden where Jennifer never looked, was the small safe I'd installed years ago, before her wedding, before Brandon. Some things I'd kept separate, always. Instinct maybe, protection. The combination clicked under my fingers. Inside, original property deed with my name alone. Will, unchanged since my wife's death. Insurance documents. The actual POA. Limited scope. Clearly defined boundaries, nothing resembling what they claimed. Birth certificates, marriage license, everything that mattered, everything that proved ownership, authority, reality. I gathered them all, every document, every piece of paper that said, "This is mine." Brandon appeared in the doorway. "What are you doing?" I looked at him, really looked. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across his face. The smirk faltered. "Protecting what's mine," I said. The folder felt solid in my hands, heavy with proof, with power they'd assumed I'd surrendered. Jennifer appeared behind Brandon, eyes wide. "Dad!" But I was already moving past them, documents clutched tight, heading back to my office, the only room still entirely mine, for now. 2 days passed before I made my next move. Saturday afternoon found me returning from the morning shift, shoulders tight from hours over the grill, smoke still clinging to my shirt. I'd spent those 48 hours deliberately. Phone calls from my office between dinner rushes, document reviews during slow afternoon hours, consultations that Jennifer and Brandon knew nothing about. They'd interpreted my silence as defeat. Let them. The noise hit me before I opened the front door. Voices, laughter, music playing softly underneath conversation. I pushed inside to find my living room transformed into a showcase. Strangers occupied my furniture, holding drinks, plates balanced on laps. The coffee table had been moved. My reading chair, the one buried under Brandon's laundry last week, was gone entirely. Jennifer appeared from the kitchen, face bright with performance. "Dad, you're home early. We're just having a few friends over." Just as if this gathering required no permission, no notice, no consideration. She gestured toward the living room, like a hostess presenting her domain. 3 couples I'd never met turned to look at me. I stood there in my work clothes, smelling of hickory and char, while they assessed me from my own couch. Brandon emerged from the hallway, mid-sentence with 2 guests following. "And we're thinking of knocking out this wall, opening up the space, making it more modern." He gestured expansively. Architect of renovations, he had no authority to plan. "Brandon," I said quietly. He didn't pause. The whole flow would change. Less closed off, more contemporary. The couple nodded, admiring his vision for my house. I moved into the kitchen. The table was set for 8 chairs. No space for me. They'd planned this lunch knowing I'd be gone, counting on my shift lasting through early afternoon. Brandon's voice carried from the living room. "The kitchen needs updating. Those cabinets are ancient. We're getting quotes next week." I stood in the doorway between kitchen and living room, watching. One of the women asked, "How long have you lived here?" "Jennifer grew up here," Brandon replied smoothly. "It's been in the family forever." The phrasing, deliberately vague about whose family, whose forever. Another guest glanced my direction, then back to Brandon. And you're planning major renovations? Kitchen first, 40,000 should cover it. Then the master bath. Maybe 25. The equity in this place can handle it. Brandon's hand swept the room like he'd built it himself. Equity, my equity. 3 decades of mortgage payments reduced to renovation budget in his calculations. Brandon, can I talk to you for a minute? My voice cut through the conversation. He waved without looking over. Later, Robert. We have guests. Robert, first name, dismissive, in front of strangers. Jennifer shot me a warning look from across the room. Her eyes said, don't embarrass me, don't cause a scene, disappear back to your office. A man in a polo shirt tried bridging the awkwardness. So, you're Jennifer's father? Do you live here too? Like I was the addition, the guest, the one who'd moved into their established household. Brandon answered before I could. Yeah, we all share the space. Works out fine, mostly. Mostly. The word hung there, suggesting complications, difficulties, accommodations they'd made for me. I need to discuss those renovation plans you mentioned. My voice remained level, but something in my tone made Jennifer stand. Dad, please. Her smile stayed fixed for the guests. You're being awkward, Brandon sighed. Theatrical patience wearing thin. We'll talk later. Stop making this weird. Jennifer moved toward me, voice dropping to urgent whisper. You're embarrassing us. Just go to your office or something. Something in her tone, the public dismissal, the assumption I'd obey, the casual humiliation in front of witnesses, pushed me past the line I'd been approaching for 3 years. Not into rage, into clarity. I straightened, looked directly at Brandon across the room, spoke clearly enough for everyone to hear. I don't remember approving any renovations to my house. Silence dropped like a curtain. Forks paused halfway to mouths. Someone's glass stopped mid-lift. Brandon's face darkened. Your house? We've been through this, old man. My house, I repeated. My name on the deed, my mortgage, my equity. Jennifer's panic flashed visible. Dad, stop. You're confused. She turned to the guests, smile forced wide. He gets mixed up sometimes. The bills, the paperwork, it's complicated for him. Gets mixed up, complicated for him, painting me senile in front of strangers. I'm not confused, each word deliberate. And no renovations are happening. Robert, Brandon stood, shoulders squared. You're making a scene. We can discuss this later. It's my house. I'll discuss it whenever I want. Jennifer's voice rose, performance cracking. Stop saying that. This is family property. I have rights. Brandon stepped forward, aggressive. You need to calm down or leave. The room held its breath. Everyone watching, waiting to see if the old man would back down, apologize, slink away humiliated. Jennifer made her choice, walked toward me, voice loud enough for every ear. Apologize to my husband right now or leave. Ultimate threat. Choose humiliation or exile. In front of witnesses who'd spread the story, the daughter who made her elderly father beg forgiveness for speaking truth in his own home. I set my keys on the entry table. The metal clinked in the silence, crossed the room slowly. Every eye tracked my movement. Brandon's smirk widened. Thought I'd come to apologize. Jennifer stepped aside, satisfied she'd won. I stopped directly in front of Brandon, close enough to see his pupils contract. His breath smelled like my whiskey. This house is mine. Always was. Always will be. I held his gaze. You have 30 days to get out. Someone's fork hit their plate with a ceramic crack. Brandon's smirk died. What? 30 days. I didn't raise my voice, didn't need to. Legal notice will be delivered Monday. Jennifer's voice came out strangled. Dad, what are you talking about? I didn't turn, kept my eyes on Brandon. 30 days. Start looking for apartments. Then I stepped back, looked around at the frozen guests. Lunch is over. I walked to my office. Behind me, chaos erupted. Chairs scraping, hurried goodbyes. The front door opening, closing, opening again. Jennifer's voice rising into hysteria. He can't do this. The house is... I have documents. Brandon, uncertain for the first time. He's bluffing. Has to be. I closed my office door. The lock clicked home. Outside, car doors slammed. Engines started. The neighborhood would be talking by dinner. Inside, I sat at my desk, hands perfectly steady, and waited for them to come. They gave me 20 minutes before the door burst open. Jennifer didn't knock, stormed in with Brandon behind her, face blotchy from crying, makeup smeared. "What was that? You humiliated us in front of everyone." I didn't stand, looked at her steadily, waiting for the performance to exhaust itself. "Answer me," her voice cracked. You can't throw us out." "I can." 2 words. Calm. Brandon leaned against my desk, trying intimidation. "We have rights. Tenant rights. We've lived here 3 years." "You're not tenants." I met his eyes. "You're guests who overstayed." Jennifer's hands shook as she pointed at me. 2 years ago, you gave me this house. You signed papers. You said it was mine when you were ready to downsize. You promised." I slid the power of attorney across my desk. "Read it out loud." She grabbed it, scanned the document, color drained from her face. This is for bills. Utilities." "Exactly." I kept my voice level. "Bills, property taxes, utilities, nothing about ownership transfer, nothing about giving you my house." Brandon snatched the paper from her hands, read it himself. His jaw tightened. I pulled out the property deed, official stamp, county clerk's signature, slid it across. "Recorded with Travis County Clerk's Office, sole owner Robert James Coleman. Want to verify? Their office opens Monday at 8. Jennifer stared at the deed like it might change if she looked long enough. The paper trembled in her grip. "But you said, after Mom died, you said I'd always have a home. I said you'd always have a place here." My voice softened slightly but held firm. "Not that you'd own it. You meant to." Desperation pitched her voice higher. "You were going to give it to me 2 years ago. You asked me to sign POA for bills. You said you wanted to help while I grieved." The words came measured, precise. "I trusted you. You took that trust and told everyone, told yourself, that I'd given you the house." Brandon shifted tactics, phone already in his hand. "This is elder abuse. We'll report you. You're clearly not capable of managing property at your age." "I manage a successful restaurant." I leaned back in my chair. "Pay my bills on time. Perfect credit score. Try again. We've lived here 3 years rent-free." Brandon countered. "That creates legal obligations on your part." "Rent-free," I let the words sit. "That's called generosity, which you repaid with theft." Jennifer's face twisted. "Where are we supposed to go? We can't afford." "That stopped being my problem when you stole $18,000 from my accounts." Brandon pulled out his phone, dialed. "Yeah, I need a lawyer. Family property dispute." He kept his eyes on me while talking. "Tuesday? That works." He hung up, smirk returning. "Consultations Tuesday." "Perfect." I opened my desk drawer. "My attorney will send the eviction notice Monday. You'll have it before your consultation." Jennifer's voice went shrill. "You gave me POA for finances. I can freeze your accounts. I can already close those accounts. Opened new ones. Friday." Her mouth opened, closed. You planned this?" "I spent 2 days making calls. My lawyer, my bank, county clerk, to verify deed status." I stacked the documents neatly. "I know exactly where I stand legally. Do you?" Brandon's confidence flickered. "You're overreacting. We made some purchases. Big deal." I pulled another folder from the drawer. Bank statements. Every unauthorized charge highlighted in yellow. "While you're consulting lawyers, show them these. $18,000. See if they want to discuss theft." "That's not theft." Brandon's voice rose. "We're family. Family doesn't require permission to use your money." I slid another document across. Credit card application. My name, signature that wasn't quite right. "This one's interesting." Brandon's hand froze, reaching for it. "Credit card application, in my name, signature forged, $15,000 limit. Maxed out in 6 weeks." I looked up at him. "That's fraud." His face changed, color draining. You didn't think I'd check? Didn't think I'd notice?" I picked up my phone. "I can call police right now. File a report." Brandon stepped back from the desk. Jennifer grabbed his arm, then turned to me, tears streaming now. "Dad, I'm sorry. We got carried away. We'll pay it back. Just don't do this." Her voice broke. "Think about Mom. She'd want us together. She'd want family to stay family." The mention of my wife, using her memory as leverage, as manipulation, crossed the final line. "Don't." My voice went cold. "Don't use her memory to justify this. She taught you better than theft, better than lies." Jennifer's tears came harder. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "You're sorry you got caught. I stood, gathering documents. 30 days, legal notice Monday. The fraud charges, I haven't decided yet. That depends on how the next month goes. I walked toward the door, stopped in the frame. I suggest you start looking for apartments. 1-bedrooms are cheaper. Dad, wait. Jennifer reached for me, but I was already moving down the hallway toward the kitchen. Behind me, her crying continued. Brandon's voice no longer confident. What do we do now? Jennifer's response came bitter, defeated. Start packing, I guess. I reached the kitchen, poured myself water from the tap. My hands were completely steady. Through the window above the sink, I saw Mrs. Henderson and Mr. Torres at the property line, talking in low voices. They'd heard everything, or enough. I didn't care anymore. The water tasted clean and cold. I drank it slowly, listening to Jennifer's muffled sobs from the office, Brandon's urgent whispers trying to strategize their next move. 30 days. They had 30 days to understand what I'd learned in 3 years. Trust given doesn't equal ownership earned. I set the glass in the sink and looked out at my yard, my property, my equity, my house. Mine. Monday morning arrived cold and clear. I'd spent the weekend at the restaurant, double shifts that kept me away from the house, giving Jennifer and Brandon space to process their situation, or hang themselves with poor choices. Either way, I returned home briefly, early enough that their bedroom door remained closed. The kitchen showed evidence of their weekend, takeout containers stacked by the sink, unwashed dishes piled in a way that suggested they'd stopped caring about appearances. I moved through the rooms quietly, not hiding, just not engaging. Sunday evening, I'd installed an additional lock on my bedroom door, simple deadbolt, keyed from both sides. My sanctuary secure. Business casual today. Pressed shirt, dark slacks. Meeting Richard Harris at 9. The folder of documents sat under my arm as I headed back out. Neither Jennifer nor Brandon emerged to ask where I was going. Harris's office occupied the second floor of a renovated building on Travis Street downtown. Small practice. 1 secretary. No pretense. Exactly what I needed. He reviewed my documents with methodical precision. Reading glasses perched on his nose, late 50s, silver touching his temples, hands steady on the papers. This is straightforward, he said finally. They have no legal claim. I'll draft the 30-day notice this morning. Certified mail by noon. Make it official. I leaned forward slightly. No room for misinterpretation. Won't be any. He made notes on a yellow pad. Texas property law is clear. Deed holder is owner. No exceptions for family feelings. From his office, I drove to Wells Fargo on Congress Avenue. Marcus Webb met me in his small glassed-in office, concern evident in his expression. We'd worked together 15 years. He'd processed my mortgage refinance, handled my business accounts for the restaurant. I need to close these accounts, open new ones, today? Marcus nodded, already pulling up screens. The ones with your daughter's power of attorney? Those specifically. He processed the closures efficiently. 3 credit cards, checking account, savings access. The new accounts will be active by end of business day. Cards arrive in 5 days. What about the power of attorney on the old accounts? Terminated with account closure. She'll have no access to new accounts unless you specifically grant it. I watched him type, numbers disappearing, new ones appearing. Clean slate. Marcus hesitated, then set down his pen. Mr. Coleman, there's something you should know. 2 months ago, someone called inquiring about a home equity line of credit, using your property as collateral. My hands went still on the armrest. Someone? Your daughter. We ran preliminary checks, started paperwork, but we couldn't proceed. She's not on the deed. Title search showed sole ownership under your name. The room felt smaller suddenly. Jennifer had tried to borrow against my house, failed only because the bank did their job. How much? She requested $75,000. The number landed like a weight, not an impulse, not a mistake, calculated, planned. When did you discover the ownership issue? Week later, I called her, explained we couldn't process without your signature as deed holder. She said she'd discuss it with you first. Marcus met my eyes. I assumed she had, until you called Friday about closing accounts. $75,000. They'd already spent $18,000, forged a credit card for 15 more, and tried to borrow $75,000 against my property. Total, $108,000 they'd attempted to take or taken already. I drove home slowly, processing. By the time I pulled into the driveway, early afternoon sun slanted across the lawn. Jennifer's car sat there, passenger door dented from brand Brandon backing into a mailbox last month. The certified letter from Harris sat in my folder. Legal delivery would come tomorrow, but I had a copy, no reason to wait. Jennifer was in the kitchen when I entered. Her eyes found the envelope in my hand immediately. "What's that?" I set it on the counter between us. 30-day eviction notice. Official. You can read it now or wait for the certified mail copy tomorrow. Her hands shook, picking it up. She scanned the legal language, face crumbling with each paragraph, set it down carefully, looked at me with tears forming. "Dad, please, I know we made mistakes, but I've been here for you. After Mum died, I stayed. I took care of you. Doesn't that count for something? I didn't ask you to stay permanently. You needed me. You said you did. I needed support, not theft." I kept my voice level. "And I certainly didn't need you trying to take a loan against my house." Her face went white. "How did you?" "The bank called me. $75,000. Silence stretched. Her mouth opened, closed. We needed it for the remodel. On my property, without my knowledge, without my permission." Brandon entered from the hallway, phone in hand. "This is harassment. We have rights. You have 30 days. Use them wisely." He scrolled through his phone, not looking up. "There are lawyers who specialize in this. Oral contracts, implied gifts. We'll find one." I picked up my keys. "Good luck. Make sure they understand Texas property law first." Jennifer followed as I moved toward my office. "Dad, I'm sorry about the loan. I should have asked, but I thought you'd say yes eventually, that this was going to be ours anyway." I stopped, turned. "It was never going to be yours. Not like this." "What do you mean?" "The loan attempt, the credit card charges, the talk about assisted living facilities." I looked at her directly. "You weren't waiting for me to give you the house. You were pushing me out of it." "That's not true. $75,000 says otherwise." Brandon stepped between us. "You're twisting everything. We live here. We contribute." "Contribute? You've spent $18,000 of my money in 6 months. That's not contributing." Jennifer's voice went shrill. "Where are we supposed to go in 30 days? Where were you planning to send me? What assisted living facility did you have in mind?" Silence. "That's what I thought. You had no problem pushing me out." My phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. "New accounts active. Cards en route." I showed them the screen. "As of now, you have no access to my finances. The POA on the old accounts died with those accounts. Any attempt to use old information is fraud." Jennifer stared at the phone. "You really planned this?" "I learned from watching you." I walked to my office. Through the closing door, I heard Brandon call every lawyer in Austin. "Someone will take this case." And Jennifer's response, quieter, more uncertain. "With what money?" I locked the door behind me, sat at my desk. 23 days remaining on the notice. 3 weeks for them to understand what they'd done. 3 weeks for justice to settle into place. Outside, their voices rose and fell, arguing about lawyers and money and options that didn't exist. Inside, I opened my laptop and reviewed my accounts. Everything in order, everything protected, everything mine. 4 days passed in hostile silence. The certified eviction notice arrived Tuesday. Jennifer signed for it with trembling hands while I watched from the kitchen. Brandon made frantic phone calls. I heard fragments through walls, consultations, retainers, Texas property law. I spent those days at the restaurant, lunch rushes, dinner services, the familiar rhythm of orders and heat and satisfied customers, leaving generous tips. Normal life continued outside the war zone my house had become. Friday afternoon, the lunch crowd thinning, Kevin approached while I was checking inventory in the back office. "You okay, boss?" I looked up from the clipboard. "Why do you ask?" "You've been here every day this week. Double shifts. That's a lot, even for you." "Just keeping busy." My phone rang. Richard Harris. I nodded to Kevin. Privacy needed, and he stepped out, closing the door. "They hired an attorney," Harris said without preamble. "Just received a letter. Want me to read it?" "Go ahead." "They're claiming constructive trust, arguing you made oral promises about the house, and they relied on those promises to their detriment." I set down the clipboard. "Meaning?" "Meaning their lawyer is creative but working with nothing. Texas statute of frauds requires real property transfers in writing. Oral promises don't create ownership, no matter how much someone relies on them. So this goes nowhere. Nowhere fast. I'll draft a response today. But honestly, Robert, this is a fishing expedition. They're hoping to scare you into backing down. Not happening." "Good. I'll handle it." I finished my shift, drove home through late afternoon traffic. The house looked the same from outside, same lawn I'd mowed for decades, same brick facade. But everything inside had changed. The letter from their attorney sat on the kitchen table. They'd left it there deliberately, wanting me to see it. I read it carefully. Legal language demanding I acknowledge implied gift of property based on promises made during period of grief and daughter's reliance on said promises. Fiction, creative fiction. I sorted through accumulated mail beside it. Bills I'd already paid online, restaurant supply invoices, credit card offer. Except I hadn't requested any credit card offers. I'd stopped those mailings years ago. I opened the envelope. Welcome letter, new card, credit limit $15,000, in my name, address, this house. Account opened 6 weeks ago, already maxed out. I never applied for this card, never received it in the mail, because Brandon had intercepted it. Had to have. The statement came in a second envelope. Purchases I never made. Electronics from Best Buy, clothing from department stores, cash advances totaling $3,000. All since the card opened 6 weeks ago. I photographed everything, every page, every charge. Then I logged into the credit monitoring service I'd started after discovering the first fraudulent charges. The inquiry was there 6 weeks ago. Applications submitted online, my social security number, date of birth, mother's maiden name, information Brandon had access to, information he'd stolen. I drove to the Austin Police Department, Travis County Precinct. The building smelled like burnt coffee and old paperwork. The officer at the desk directed me to Detective Sarah Chen, Financial Crimes Unit. She took my statement, copied the fraudulent card application and statements, logged everything into her computer with methodical efficiency. This is clearly fraud, she said, looking up from the keyboard. We'll investigate. Do you know who had access to your information? I have suspicions. Can you name them? Brandon Mitchell, my daughter's husband, lives in my house currently. She made notes. We'll need to verify the IP address where the application originated. Interview household members. This takes time. I understand. Do you want to press charges if we identify the perpetrator? Yes. From the police station, I called all 3 credit bureaus, filed fraud alerts, froze my credit. The representative at Equifax asked, do you want to pursue criminal charges? Already filed a police report. Good. We'll flag this account. Any additional fraudulent activity gets reported immediately. I returned home as evening settled in. Jennifer and Brandon were in the living room, laptops open, looking at apartment listings, pretending to search while hoping the lawyer's letter would make searching unnecessary. I walked in holding the fraudulent credit card statement. Didn't speak, just held it up. $15,000. Card I never applied for. Brandon didn't look up from his laptop. I don't know what you're talking about. Opened 6 weeks ago. My name, my social security number, this address. Jennifer glanced over. Dad, maybe someone stole your identity online. That happens all the time. Someone in this house, someone who knows my mother's maiden name. Brandon stood slowly. You can't prove anything. The police disagree. I filed a report this afternoon. His face changed, color draining. The police? Identity theft is a federal offense. Fraud. They're investigating now. Jennifer's voice went high. Dad, you can't be serious. You called the police on us? The application was submitted from an IP address in this house. They'll subpoena the internet provider, match it to our address, check device IDs. Brandon's hands clenched. That doesn't mean... It means exactly what it sounds like. Someone here committed fraud. The evidence will show who. Jennifer tried redirecting, voice desperate. Did you get the letter from our attorney? I did. Richard says it's worthless. You can't create property rights through oral promises in Texas. Brandon found his footing again. That's what your lawyer says. Ours disagrees. Then yours is either incompetent or lying to get your money. I looked at him directly. Which you don't have. That's not your concern. When you can't pay him, it will be. What did you use for the retainer? Silence. My credit card, the fraudulent one. Brandon's jaw tightened. We needed legal representation. You committed another crime to fight the first ones. He moved toward me, shoulders squared. You're bluffing about the police. You won't actually press charges against your daughter. Jennifer didn't open that card? You did? The charges are against you. Jennifer's phone rang. She answered, listened, face falling with each second. What? But we paid the retainer. She hung up slowly. Brandon's voice came sharp. What? The attorney. He's withdrawing from the case. He can't do that. He said after reviewing Texas property law more thoroughly, he can't ethically continue representing us. Her voice cracked. There's no case. The reality settled over them like fog. No lawyer, no case. Eviction notice counting down. Fraud investigation opening. Jennifer sat heavily on the couch, phone loose in her hand. Brandon paced. There has to be another option. We can't just, you can. You will. I moved toward my office, then stopped. The fraud investigation takes time, but Detective Chen will want to interview everyone in the household. Expect a call. I closed the office door behind me, locked it. In the living room, Jennifer started crying. Brandon's voice, no longer aggressive. What do we do now? Then arguing. Jennifer blaming Brandon for the credit card. Brandon blaming Jennifer for the loan attempt. Both blaming each other for everything that had collapsed around them. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop. Email from Harris. Their attorney withdrew. We proceed with eviction as planned. I typed back. Understood. No satisfaction in it. Just tired justice working its slow way forward. 19 days left on the notice. 19 days until the house was mine again. Truly mine. 1 week passed like a held breath. 7 days remained on the eviction notice when I woke Monday morning in my office. The couch had become familiar now. Its lumps and hard spots mapped by my spine. Through the door, Jennifer's voice carried deliberately loud, phone pressed to her ear, performing for my benefit. I don't know what happened to him, honestly. He's not the man he was. Maybe grief changed him, made him cold. Talking to someone from my late wife's side of the family, spinning her narrative, building sympathy. I listened, cataloging every lie, and said nothing. My phone buzzed. Text from Kevin. Need to talk? Important. Come by restaurant when you can. Mid-morning, I met Richard Harris at his office. They haven't left. 7 days remaining. He nodded, unsurprised. Expected. We file for judicial eviction now. Gets us a court date within the week. Do it. I returned home that afternoon. Jennifer still on her phone marathon, positioned where I'd have to pass her. She saw me, didn't lower her voice. He's throwing us out without cause. Just decided one day he wanted us gone, after everything I've done for him. The lies flowed smooth as practice. I walked past without speaking. That evening, my phone rang. Dorothy Martinez, old family friend, someone who'd known us for decades. Robert, Jennifer called me earlier, said you're forcing her out without reason. Her voice carried skepticism. I told her I know better. Your wife would be ashamed of what that girl's become. Not everyone believed Jennifer's story. The community remembered. Thank you, Dorothy. People are talking. Most of us see through it. She disappeared for years. Barely visited when your wife was sick. Now suddenly she's the devoted daughter. Please. Next morning, I arrived at Coleman's Smokehouse before the early prep shift. Kevin waited by the back entrance, agitation visible in his stance. We need to talk, privately. Inside my office, he closed the door. Brandon came by yesterday, late afternoon. Knew you'd be gone. My hands went still on the desk edge. What did he want? Asked to borrow money. $3,000. Kevin shifted his weight. Said it was from you, that you wanted to help them move, but didn't want to give it directly because of pride issues. Asked me to keep it between us. What did you say? Asked to confirm with you first. He left fast after that. 3,000. They were getting desperate, trying to scam my employees now. I stopped at the hardware store on my way home. High security deadbolts. Different key pattern than the house's standard locks. The clerk helped me pick compatible models. Mid-afternoon, Jennifer and Brandon were out, apartment hunting presumably. I changed the locks on my office door and master bedroom, tested each one twice. Solid, secure. Late that evening, I heard movement in the hallway. Quiet, careful, deliberate stealth. I opened my bedroom door slowly. Jennifer stood in the dim hallway, carrying a box. Inside, visible in the spill of light from my room, family photo albums, my late wife's jewelry box, the wedding china from our 25th anniversary. She froze when she saw me, caught. What are you doing? These are Mom's things. Her voice came defensive, rushed. I should have them. Put them back. She clutched the box tighter. They're family heirlooms. I'm family. They're in my house. Put them back now. Brandon appeared from their bedroom, reading the scene instantly. She has a right to her mother's belongings. She has no right to remove anything from this house without permission. I took the box from Jennifer's hands. She resisted momentarily, fingers tight on the cardboard edges, then released. Inside, wedding photos from 1989. My wife's pearl necklace. The one her grandmother left her mother's engagement ring. You're going to keep everything, even Mom's things? I'm keeping what belongs to me. When you have your own place, we'll discuss what I choose to give you. Choose to give? These should be mine by right. Nothing here is yours by right. You made that clear when you tried to take the house. Brandon stepped closer. You're being petty, vindictive over a few family photos. I'm being careful. You've stolen before. Jennifer's voice rose. I wasn't stealing. I was preserving memories. At midnight? In secret? I looked at her directly. That's called stealing. She deserves, Brandon started. She deserves what I decide to give her, not what she takes in the night like a thief. I examined the box contents more carefully, not just sentimental items, the expensive china, the jewelry with actual value. They'd been selective about what to preserve. You were planning to leave tonight, weren't you? Take what you could carry, disappear before the court date. Jennifer's silence confirmed everything. Brandon's shoulders slumped. We have nowhere to go. Not my problem. Court date is Friday. Be there. My phone buzzed. Text from Dorothy. Spoke to others. Everyone knows the truth. Jennifer's not getting the sympathy she expected. I showed Jennifer the screen. Your story isn't working. People remember how you treated me before your mother died, how you disappeared for years until you needed something. Her face crumbled. Where are we supposed to go? You've had 23 days to figure that out. What have you been doing? Brandon, bitter. Looking. Everything requires first and last month's rent, security deposits. We don't have. You have $18,000. The money you stole from me. That's gone. Spent. I know. Gaming console, furniture, restaurants. That vacation to Vegas I found on the credit card statements. Jennifer's voice broke. We thought this would be ours. We were investing in our future home. You were spending my money on your fantasies. I took the box, walked to the dining room. They followed like shadows. I opened the china cabinet, carefully returned each item to its place. Photo albums on their shelf, jewelry box in its drawer, wedding china in protective wrapping, tissue paper rustling, each placement deliberate, final. Nothing leaves this house without my written permission. Clear? Jennifer crying now. You've become someone I don't know. I turned to face her fully. I've become someone who protects what's his. You taught me that. I walked past them, entered my bedroom. The new deadbolt slid home with a solid, satisfying click. In the hallway, Jennifer's sobs echoed. Brandon's voice, frustrated, afraid. We need a plan. Friday's in 3 days. I lay on my bed, still dressed, staring at the ceiling. My wife's jewelry box locked in the closet safe now, along with everything else that mattered. 3 more days, then my house would be mine again. Friday morning arrived with unexpected clarity. I woke before dawn, suit already pressed and waiting on the bedroom chair. Dark charcoal, my late wife's gift from 20 years ago. Still fit, still meant something. The last 3 days I'd spent mostly at the restaurant, avoiding the house's toxic atmosphere, returning only to sleep, shower, prepare. Today ended it all. I dressed carefully, respect for the process, respect for myself. By 8:30, I stood on the steps of Travis County Civil Courthouse on 4th Street downtown. Richard Harris waited, briefcase in hand, expression calm. Ready? I nodded. My folder contained everything: deed, bank statements, power of attorney documentation, the eviction notice with certified mail receipt. Inside, the courtroom was small and utilitarian. Judge's bench, 2 tables, gallery seating for maybe 20 people. Jennifer and Brandon already sat at the defendant's table with an attorney I didn't recognize. Young man, cheap suit, nervous energy shuffling through too many papers. Harris leaned close. Daniel Reeves, bargain representation. He called me yesterday, fishing for settlement. What did you say? That we'd see him in court. Jennifer's eyes found mine across the room. Red-rimmed, exhausted, she looked away quickly. The bailiff entered. All rise. The Honorable Judge Maria Thornton presiding. Judge Thornton appeared through the side door. Late 50s, efficient movements, no wasted energy. Harris had briefed me. Fair but no nonsense. Saw 20 eviction cases monthly. Knew the law cold. The bailiff's voice rang clear. Case number 2025, CV 4783, Coleman versus Coleman Thompson, eviction matter. Judge Thornton reviewed the file documents, reading glasses perched on her nose. Mr. Harris, this is your petition? Harris stood. Yes, Your Honor. Straightforward unlawful detainer. Respondents given proper 30-day notice, refused to vacate. Petitioner seeks possession of property and reimbursement for unauthorized expenses. Mr. Reeves, Jennifer's attorney stood, papers trembling slightly in his hands. Your Honor, we contest this eviction. The respondent, Ms. Coleman Thompson, is petitioner's daughter. She has reasonable belief the property was gifted to her through oral promises and a pattern of behavior establishing constructive trust. Judge Thornton didn't look up from her documents. Counselor, you're aware Texas statute of frauds requires written documentation for real property transfer. Yes, but do you have written documentation? No, Your Honor, however. Then there's no case. Now she looked up, direct and sharp. The property deed shows sole ownership by petitioner. Power of attorney, covered bill payment only. Clearly documented. Where's the dispute? Reeves opened his mouth, closed it, sat down. Harris stood again. Your Honor, if I may. Evidence of financial abuse. He slid bank statements across to the clerk, who passed them to the judge. $18,000 in unauthorized charges over 6 months. Additionally, respondent Brandon Thompson used petitioner's information to fraudulently open a credit account. Currently under police investigation with Detective Sarah Chen, Travis County. Judge Thornton reviewed the statements. Her expression hardened with each page. Mr. Thompson, you understand these are serious allegations? Brandon stood, attorney pulling his sleeve to sit back down. I can explain. Not necessary. The criminal matter is separate from this proceeding. She set the papers down. For eviction purposes, the facts are clear. Petition granted, 23 minutes. The entire case resolved in 23 minutes. Mr. Coleman, is this your signature on the property deed? I stood. Yes, Your Honor. And you gave no written permission for respondents to claim ownership? Correct. No written, no verbal permission. She turned to Jennifer. Ms. Coleman-Thompson, did your father execute any documents transferring property to you? Jennifer's voice came small, defeated. Not exactly, but he promised. Yes or no, please. Silence. Then, no. Then this is simple. Eviction granted. Respondents have 48 hours to vacate premises. Reeves stood quickly. Your Honor, they need more time to find suitable. They had 30 days. Time's expired. 48 hours, or the sheriff enforces removal. Judge Thornton wasn't finished. Regarding financial claims, Mr. Thompson, you acknowledge making these purchases? Reeves whispered urgently in Brandon's ear. Brandon defeated. Some of them, yes. $18,000. Your order to reimburse Mr. Coleman. Payment plan. $500 monthly until debt satisfied. Failure to comply results in wage garnishment. She looked at both of them. Understand? They nodded. The gavel fell. Sharp crack of finality. Next case. We gathered our documents. Jennifer cried at her table. Brandon argued with Reeves. You said we had a chance. I said I'd try. Texas law's clear. I told you that at the consultation. Outside, August's sun blazed bright and hot. Harris walked beside me toward the parking lot. That's that then. 48 hours. I shook his hand. Thank you. You're welcome. They'll be gone by Sunday. If not, call me. Sheriff's office handles the removal. Jennifer's voice rang out behind us. Dad, please wait. I stopped, didn't turn. She caught up, breathless. You won, okay? You won. Can't you just give us one more week? Please. I turned slowly. You had 30 days. We found an apartment. We just need first month's rent. One more week to get the money. The judge gave you 48 hours. Brandon approached, hands spread in supplication. Be reasonable. Where are we supposed to go? Reasonable? The word tasted bitter. You stole from me, tried to steal my house, committed fraud. Jennifer's voice broke. I'm your daughter. My daughter wouldn't have done any of this. Harris touched my arm gently. Mr. Coleman, we should go. I nodded, started walking. I'm sorry. Jennifer's voice followed me. Is that what you want to hear? I'm sorry. I stopped, turned back one last time. Sorry you got caught. Not sorry for what you did. There's a difference. I got in my truck, started the engine. Jennifer stood in the parking lot, crying. Brandon pulling her toward their car. I drove away. Harris followed in his own vehicle for a few blocks, then turned toward his office. My phone buzzed. Text from Kevin. How'd it go? I voice texted back while stopped at a red light. Over. They have 2 days. In the rearview mirror, I caught my reflection. Same face, different man than 30 days ago. The light changed green. I drove toward the restaurant, toward normal life, toward a future without them. Behind me, Travis County Courthouse shrank in the mirror. Jennifer and Brandon somewhere back there. Their borrowed lawyer counting his minimal fee. Their dreams of ownership dissolving into the reality of 48 hours. My house, my actual house, waited empty and quiet. For the first time in 3 years, it would be only mine again. Tomorrow, I'd change the locks on the front door. Tonight, I'd sleep in my own bed, knowing they were packing. Justice, it turned out, tasted like August sunlight and an empty road ahead. Sunday morning arrived with unusual quiet. The 48-hour deadline expired at noon. I woke early, made coffee in my kitchen, and positioned myself at the living room window where I could see the driveway clearly. Not hiding, not confronting, just present. Outside, a rental truck sat crooked in the driveway, beat-up 16-footer, economy model, the kind you got when money was tight. Brandon loaded boxes with jerky, angry movements. Jennifer carried smaller items, face exhausted, no makeup, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. They'd started early, trying to finish before I woke. Didn't work. I'd been watching for an hour. Neither acknowledged my silhouette in the window. I didn't care. This wasn't about acknowledgement. It was about completion. Morning sun slanted across the floor, highlighting dust patterns where their furniture used to be. The house already felt different, lighter somehow. I watched methodically. They took their bedroom set, purchased with my stolen money, but I wouldn't fight over it now. The new couch from the living room, their clothes crammed into garbage bags, kitchen items I never used. Each load into the truck was a step toward freedom. Jennifer struggled with a heavy box, stumbled on the porch step. I didn't move to help, didn't need to be cruel, but wouldn't enable either. She caught herself, kept moving. Brandon glared toward the window, saw my silhouette, looked away quickly. Near the end, Brandon entered the house for a final sweep. I heard him in the hallway, opening closets, checking corners. Then footsteps toward the dining room. I moved to the doorway. Brandon stood at the china cabinet, hand reaching for a serving dish. My late wife's serving dish from our wedding registry. Our eyes met. I didn't speak, just looked. His hand dropped. He turned, walked past me without a word, shoulders tight. The message was clear. Nothing else leaves without permission. Everything not explicitly theirs stays. Truck loaded, Jennifer stood by the driver's door. Brandon approached my front door, knocked. I opened it part way. "We're done." His voice strained for dignity. "We'll be gone in 5 minutes." I nodded. His jaw tightened. "You know, you could have handled this differently. Like family. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't forge signatures. Family doesn't try to take your home. We made mistakes, but you..." He gestured angrily. "You destroyed us. I protected what was mine. You destroyed yourselves." He turned to leave, threw back over his shoulder. "Hope you're happy alone in this big empty house, old man. Hope it's worth it." "It is." I closed the door, through the window, watched him stomp to the truck, slam the door hard enough to rock the vehicle. Jennifer crying in the passenger seat. The truck pulled away, down the street, around the corner, gone. I stood at the window for a long moment. House silent, deeply, profoundly silent. Then I noticed no tension in my shoulders, no knot in my stomach, just quiet. I walked through the house, room by room, seeing what remained, what disappeared, what needed reclaiming. Their bedroom, empty now except for dust patterns outlining where furniture stood. Guest rooms still had my boxes of old files. My bedroom untouched, my sanctuary preserved. Living room had a large empty space where their couch was. I'd get new furniture. Better furniture, my choice this time. Late afternoon, someone knocked. Kevin from the restaurant carrying a toolbox. "Thought you might need help moving things around, or just company." I smiled. First real smile in weeks. "Both, thank you." Together we worked, moved my office desk to a better position by the window, retrieved items from the garage that Jennifer had stored, hidden really, cleaned the kitchen thoroughly, getting rid of their presence, their habits, their accumulated mess. Kevin didn't ask many questions, just helped, friendship without conditions. Early evening, my phone rang. Detective Patricia Morgan, Austin PD Financial Crimes. "Mr. Coleman, update on your fraud case. We have sufficient evidence to charge Mr. Thompson. The DA's office is proceeding with prosecution. Identity theft, credit card fraud. He'll be notified of charges this week." I absorbed this. "What happens now?" "He'll need to appear for arraignment. This is a third-degree felony. He's looking at potential jail time if convicted, or probation and restitution at minimum, separate from the civil judgment." "I understand. Thank you for the update." After hanging up, I sat on my porch, actually sat there for the first time in 3 years without looking over my shoulder. Kevin joined me, handed me a cold drink from the cooler he'd brought. "You okay?" I considered the question. "I am. Surprisingly, I am." Sun setting now, painting the sky orange and purple. Kevin's truck still in the driveway. He was staying for dinner. We'd ordered barbecue from the restaurant, delivery for the boss. My phone buzzed. Text from Richard Harris. "Restitution order filed with county. First payment due October 1st. Criminal charges being filed separately. You're clear on all fronts." I read it, set the phone down. Kevin glanced over. "Good news. Very good news." I leaned back in the chair, closed my eyes, felt the evening breeze. Behind us, through the open front door, the house waited, empty in places but clean. His, finally, completely his. Tomorrow I'd start thinking about new furniture, new routines, new life. Tonight I just breathed. Monday, August 25th, 5 days since they left. Late afternoon approached sunset hour. I sat on my front porch, glass of sweet tea, sweating condensation in the Austin heat. The wooden rocking chair, my father's, retrieved from the garage where Jennifer had banished it, creaked rhythmically under me. Ceiling fan turned slowly overhead. Blues station played low from inside the house. No traffic sounds, no arguments, no tension, just August in Texas, hot and still and mine. The past week's work showed everywhere. Fresh paint smell still faint in the hallway. Living room rearranged with furniture I'd chosen. Comfortable, not trendy. Kitchen organized my way. Guest bedroom cleared for actual guests. My wedding photo back on the mantel, dusted, honored properly. The house breathed differently now. My phone buzzed. Jennifer's name on the screen. First contact since they left. I hesitated, then opened it. We found an apartment. Small. East Side. Rent's high. Brandon got a job, but it doesn't pay much. This is hard. I don't know if you care. I still think you were wrong, but we're surviving. Jay. I read it twice, typed nothing back, set the phone face down on the side table. She wanted absolution or argument. I'd give her neither. Some bridges burned completely. That was acceptable. Another buzz. Richard Harris. Final update. Court-approved payment plan. First installment $500 due October 1st. County will track compliance. Criminal charges officially filed. Arraignment set September 12th. Thompson facing third-degree felony. Your involvement complete unless called as witness. Invoice attached for services rendered. Total, $3,800. Worth every penny, I hope. I actually chuckled. Worth every penny? Worth 10 times that. I replied, invoice paid tomorrow. Thank you for everything. Harris responded immediately. Pleasure doing business with honest people. Enjoy your house. Mrs. Patterson from next door walked by with her terrier, waved. Robert, haven't seen you on the porch in ages. Everything all right? Everything's good, Eleanor. Really good. She smiled. Noticed it's quieter over here lately. Peace suits you. I settled deeper into the rocker. Watched the sky shift from blue to gold to orange. Listened to blues guitar from my speakers. Drank my tea. Simple. Mine. Nobody to perform for. Nobody to defend against. Nobody to calculate around. I thought about my late wife, what she'd think of all this. She'd be disappointed in Jennifer, wouldn't recognize the person our daughter became, but she'd understand my choices. She taught me about boundaries, about self-respect, about knowing when to bend and when to hold firm. Kevin had texted earlier. Tuesday lunch rush was crazy, good crazy, made extra ribs. You built something that lasts, boss. I built something, not just the restaurant, this life. This foundation, nobody could take that without my permission. My phone rang. Dorothy Martinez. Heard the court case went your way. It did. House is mine. Always was. But now everyone knows it. Your wife would be proud, standing up for yourself like that. I hope so. I think so. After we hung up, I thought about Brandon's upcoming arraignment. Third-degree felony. Potential jail time. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No guilt, just recognition that actions carried consequences. Brandon chose to commit fraud. The law responded. That was justice, not revenge. The payment plan ran 36 months. 3 years of Brandon writing checks, remembering what he did every single month. The plan wasn't just about money, it was about accountability sustained over time. Next week, I decided I'd call a decorator, get the living room properly furnished, maybe update the kitchen, for myself, my choice, my timeline. The restaurant was doing well. I could afford it. More importantly, I could enjoy it without someone claiming it was family investment. Inside, I noticed the wedding photo on the mantel, my wife's smile captured in silver frame. I walked over, picked it up, really looked. I did what I had to do, I said quietly to the image. I protected what we built. I set it back, gently. She'd understand. I knew she would. My phone showed messages from the past week. Dorothy checking in. Kevin inviting me to Sunday dinner with his family. Mrs. Patterson's wave earlier. Old friends from the restaurant. I wasn't alone. Never was. Just couldn't see it past the toxicity. I returned to the porch. Sun touching the horizon now. Sky brilliant with color. I rocked slowly, rhythmically. Blues guitar transitioned to something mellower. B.B. King, soulful and knowing. My tea glass empty. but still cold against my palm. Tomorrow the restaurant opened early for the breakfast crowd. I'd be there, like always. Work I loved, place I built, reputation I earned. But tonight, this moment, this porch, this peace, this was the victory. Not the court ruling, not the criminal charges, not even the house title clear in my name. The victory was sitting here, sunset washing over my face, breathing easy, shoulders relaxed, mind quiet. 3 years of walking on eggshells in my own home. 3 years of calculated theft and manipulation. All of it ended. I didn't seek revenge. I sought justice, took back what belonged to me, set boundaries and enforced them, protected my dignity, my property, my life. That wasn't revenge. That was self-respect. The sky deepened to purple, first stars appearing. I closed my eyes, rocked slowly. Inside the house, a clock chimed 6. My stomach reminded me about dinner, leftover brisket in the fridge, potato salad Kevin brought yesterday. Simple meal, exactly what I wanted. I stood, stretched, picked up my glass, looked back at the house one more time before going inside. Lights warm in the windows, my furniture, my choices, my peace. I smiled, genuine, deep, satisfied, and walked through my front door. It closed behind me with a solid, final click. Home. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.